My final question this evening, guys, is what factors have caused you to struggle to open up? Like, what do you think are some of the biggest factors that have caused you personally and people in general to not to open up?
Again, I mentioned earlier that I'm not entirely sure where it came from, but I do think some of it might actually be upbringing because, like, looking at my dad, for example, um, I will never say this to him because he doesn't need to get gassed, but I look up to him a lot. But because of that, some of his tendencies have rubbed off onto me. Like he might open up to mum, but for the most part, if he's struggling, he will do everything in his power to hide it from me and my sister. And I get it because he thinks we don't need to be worrying about that kind of stuff either. But then as a result of that, I kind of look at situations like if I'm going through something, the people I care about around me, I want to protect, I want to keep safe. So I don't need to be putting whatever I'm worried about on them either.
Uh-huh.
And I think the other part of it is some experiences. I'm fortunate enough to not have had a lot of bad experiences with people, but there's been some cases where like I trust very easily and it's kind of turned around and bitten me. So because of that, it kind of slowed down the development I was making in terms of opening up to people. But yeah, I think they're the main two, but I'm still not entirely sure.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Ruben, Richie, what about you two?
Kind of similar to Kevin in some elements, in that I don't actually know why, but kind of like with upbringing and in a way people's reaction to certain stuff. Because right now in my house, I have my sister and my mum, and right now I won't tell them, but I can't, depending on what it is, but I can't really open up to them because how they react to certain stuff is, it's not that what they say is beneficial or not, or it's just like how they portray it or whatnot. It's not helpful. It's like what I'm telling them, I did a bad thing for it when I'm just asking for help, or like it could, there's lots of different elements. So like, because of that, I won't make that the sole reason why I don't open up, but depending on people's reactions or don't want to put the burden on other people, I just don't open up. Like I'm struggling with it. I don't want to I don't want my close friends to struggle with me unless if I'm in dire need. So I think it's just like an automatic thing in my head to just deal with it on my own. Yeah.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, well, coming up from an African upbringing, Africans tend to keep things in house and closet off, and as a result, they tend not to. But in general, you tend not to tell people about issues you face, and I think as a result of that, seeing that growing up, many people are like have almost not almost have they have that same attitude and same thinking that we shouldn't tell people about our issues. You should deal with your issues by yourself. You shouldn't talk to anyone about this. You should just struggle through. Because for many people, many parents, that's just how they had to be. Especially moving from Africa to here, they really had no one to talk about what issues they were facing growing up. Well, not growing up, facing issues facing when they first came here. And they have seeped that into their children's thinking and mentality. And it takes time to overcome that and to evolve and grow from that way of thinking and that way of mentality that, you know what, you can open up, you can tell people about issues that you do face. It's not a bad thing, like our parents would say.
I think that's a lot to do with like culture and stuff. And because of that, it's very, very deeply ingrained. And I think that even our generation, although a lot of us have understood that, okay, it is okay to open up, it's going to be a while before we fully see a shift.
Yeah, it's gonna. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna take a couple generations. I reckon it'll probably be with our grandkids that it'll probably
be gone completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Growing up, yeah. And also on that, me personally, I think that when opening up, as I said earlier, when opening up and seeing people's responses to you opening up and seeing that they're not the most receptive to it, or they should just brush it off, and it's just like, okay, I see that's how you are moving now. And as a result, that has a negative impact on opening up going forward, because you come to the thinking, or to the what's the word? Thinking that everyone is going to have that same reaction to when a said individual has done something, even though it's probably only them that would think like that. And as a result of that, you just close yourself off because you just don't want to see that reaction.
Agree. Very much agree. Yes.
And what about you, Ruben?
I mean, you guys all put it so beautifully. I don't know how to sort of carry on from that. Yeah, I do sort of what you guys were saying about your parents. Like, I see that as well. Like, I don't know how many parents would openly go up to their kids and be like, I'm having an issue with something. Like, I feel like every parent's job is trying to protect your kids. So if your parents are like that and are open about it, that's fantastic. And I think actually that's probably training your kids for the future possibly better, because as a kid growing up, you're not going to think life is always brilliant and rosy all the time, because it isn't. But like I knew when I was growing up, my mum and dad were always very, like, my mum was like a proper like tough cookie. Like, she wouldn't ever allow anything to affect her, or at least enough for me and my brother to realise something had, until something bad happened, and then you went, oh, okay, mum's obviously having a bad time. But it didn't happen a lot growing up. So yeah, kind of think that sort of going along what you guys were saying about parents, but it's not a bad thing, because parents are just trying to look after us. But
yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah, and I think that's also another thing.
I said wait. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Alright.
That's okay. Just say picking back on Ruben, not seeing our parents not being open about issues to us, or not just seeing it in general, is also another thing that's probably led to the fact that you're just not open, because you've never seen it in action. And if you're someone like me, I like to see, in order for me to understand something, I would like to see it in action. So if you don't necessarily see something in action, you're not going to understand it, or you're not going to know how to do said action, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I hear that. You kind of want an example to look at and then go off of, say, okay, so that's how I should do it and imitate.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of what we learn and a lot of who we are comes from just watching those around us.
Yeah.
So that observing aspect, I get what you mean.
Yeah, our parents are our biggest shapers of who we are from a young age, and that stems with you to your child, to your rest of your life. So factors that have let me say this correctly, factors that have caused us to struggle to open up, what factors have now led to you being able to open up? So the reverse.
I think it's friends. This last year and a little bit, there's been a couple people that I've met that have been a very, very, very big help in more ways than they will know. But because of them, I've learned healthier ways of dealing with issues like that. I've been able to I know that I can open up to them and trust that they will react in a positive way, help me out. And that's partly from the fact that they have been willing to trust me as well. And I think that bond is it's been a very, very big help. I think they're one of the main reasons, if not the only reason, why I can, like, even here, talking on here, a year ago, I would not have done it. I'd have been shaken. But I think because of them, I've been able to make that grow. I'm very grateful for them.
That's nice to hear. That's nice to hear. Yeah, I think yeah, friends are the biggest contributor to it, and having friends, you can open up to, and knowing that they will hear your side of the story and understand what you are going through. I think that, yeah, that's the biggest factor to it.
Friends, yeah. I open up to friends more than I do to parents, for example. Yeah. So I'd say friends is a big element in terms of that. Yeah. But then obviously it comes with, as you grow older, you get to know things better. You can assess which friend to go to for what, if you can trust them enough with this thing having an issue on, whatnot. But yeah, it all comes to friends, really, for me. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I sort of mentioned it earlier. Like, when my mum was ill, I felt like because I was really fortunate for everybody else, but I was like the first person that I knew for their mum to be ill. At the time, I didn't know anybody else who'd gone through the same thing. So when you're in that situation, it does feel like you're completely alone and nobody else will know what to do. You can ask them for the help and advice, but they might be just as lost as you are, because it's the first time something like that's happened. So I'm really like, with issues like that, I'm really open about it, because I want people to know that at the time when they're going through it, yeah, I know it's completely, you feel lonely and there's nobody else that understands what you're going through. But there are people like that out there. People do, like, you're not alone when you're having issues. People have issues all the time. Just the way that society is built is that you don't tell people about when you're having a bad day. You only show the best parts, and when you're on holiday and when everything's rosy and brilliant. But actually life isn't always like that. Life does have downs as well as ups. So, but because of the way that society is and the way that Satan works, he wants us to feel alone when we're doing this. But actually it's not like that at all, because everybody's been through stuff. You just got to know how to handle it by getting help from your friends.
Yeah, precisely that. And on that beautiful monologue on that end, I think we'll end the episode there.
I have a point.
We will not end this episode there. Richie.
Well, it's just me, really, but it's I didn't know which question to add it on, but I open up if I'm asked about a certain situation or a question. I don't go out my way to say, "Oh, Tommy, I'm feeling this," or I do this in this situation. If like any of you, I know Tommy the most out of everyone here, but you could ask me, "Oh, Richie, what would you do like in a personal matter in this situation?" I would tell you, but I would never go out my way to tell you specifically what I'm going through, if you get what I mean. But then I don't want to be dependent on other people coming to me for that. But then I kind of feel like a burden if I go out my way to tell other people. So it's kind of like assessing the right moment to open up. But that depends on who you're talking to, friends, how long you've known them, trust levels, etc., etc. So yeah, I'd say I have trust issues. There's trust issues, yeah.
We're not gonna end the episode because I'm gonna piggyback off that. I used to be like that. And I used to be like, unless you ask me, I'm not really going to open up. I'm not really going to say much. But it took time, and it took me realizing that not everyone's going to necessarily ask if you're okay or what's good. And it's not a very healthy way or healthy coping mechanism just to hope that someone will ask if you're good or what happened with this, what happened with that, and that opening, being what's the word I'm looking for? Being, it's not the aggressor, but we're gonna say aggressor in this, being the aggressor in the situation, that you open up and having friends. And I think allowing me to, what's helped me to do that is having friends I know I can open up to without judgment and without repercussions and without fear of fear of judgment, really. I think that's the main thing. Friends that won't judge you no matter, friends that won't judge you for whatever you may be going through.
Exactly that.
Yeah. Any other points you wanna say? So in conclusion, guys, it's hard to open up, but it's necessary to open up. So just make sure you have people, friends, you can go to and open up on matters, on situations that you may be going through, because bottling it up and dealing with it alone is not healthy at all. And eventually you're gonna explode, because you can't, as what happened to me and my mom when we were cooking last week. We were trying to defrost something, and when we opened it up, because the pressure inside from the heat was too much, boom, and it exploded. And that's what will happen to you if you do not open up and release it. You need to have a release valve. Like I said last episode, that release valve is key, is necessary. So yeah. What was that, Kevin?
No, I like the illustration. That was good.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, we will wrap up the episode there. Before we wrap up, we will move on to Tommy's selections.